So good afternoon. Welcome everybody. I just about 3 after 12 and I thought we'd get going. I know your time is tight just like everybody. So I wanted to make sure we can maximize that today. So it is an amazingly glorious day today. As you can see behind me, I have to keep my door open. It's so gorgeous. So I hope you all are watching this on mobile and are getting every bit of vitamin D that you can today. My name is Rebecca Mead, and I'm delighted that you are joining me here today for Midweek Marketing. This is our kickoff webinar, and we're going to be talking about marketing planning, kind of set the stage, the foundation for all the other webinars to come that we dig deeper into each aspect of it. And before we really get into the substance of our time together today, I just wanted to give you two little pieces of housekeeping. First, we are recording, so we will send that out after the live webinar, and we'll be able to share that with your friends, colleagues, and anyone who might not have been able to meet us today, but or if you want to revisit any aspects of this. And second, I do encourage you to ask questions as we're going. I am kind of flying solo here today, so I'm going to be speaking and sharing information and all. So I might not be able to get to the questions right away, but I certainly will have time at the end to do so. So um, for those of you on the webinar today that I haven't met yet, my name is Rebecca Mead, and I'm the principal of Inc. Creative and Consulting out of Chester, Connecticut. We are currently undergoing a little bit of a rebrand, having operated as Rebecca Mead Communications since 2013. But as we've expanded our services and our partners and our collaborators, we thought it was time to rebrand. So we currently provide, marketing consulting and creative services to startups, small businesses, and nonprofits um, locally here in Connecticut, across the globe. And we work with our clients to build strong brands, strong communication strategies, and strong websites that drive growth. That's our focus. And of course, these days we're doing a lot of work helping organizations adapt their digital marketing and their communications to the COVID-19 environment. And so what we're going to be talking about today is going to be very relevant to what's going on now, but it's going to be relevant regardless, especially in the startup and small business environment that we're all operating. Before we get going, I would like to give a big shout out to the Muse and Middlesex County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this webinar. The Chamber team has been doing a really Herculean job of helping the Middlesex businesses and the community survive through tough times and really deserve a lot of gratitude for all their work. So bravo to them. And I really like to appreciate their support for all of their support in putting this this midweek marketing series together. So before we really dive into the how of getting a marketing plan set up, let's talk a little bit about what a marketing plan does. So, a marketing plan is really a critical component of your business plan. And you have one of those, right? Everybody should have a business plan, especially if you're in a startup mode and you're looking to bring on partners, collaborators, and obviously funders. You're going to need a business plan and a marketing plan to show them where you're going to be spending your time and money to promote and grow your business. Marketing plans, strategies, whatever you want to call them, gets your thinking straight on your customers, your services and products, the channels that you use to distribute your marketing message, what your goals are, and how your marketing goals contribute to your overall business goals, and set in motion an action plan for you to follow and then, of course, measure against. So successful marketing planning is an up and down, down and up approach, I believe. A well understood, defined customer leads to a well-defined product and service, leading to an easy to craft marketing message that resonates with your core audiences, identifies the right channels to distribute your messages on, helps you better understand what you need to do to achieve your business goals, your marketing goals, but your overall business goals, and of course, then sets your action plan in motion. And again, it works bottom up too. Again, an action plan is supported by the goals and channels, marketing message, and of course, product and service definition, and then customer. But at the core, the customer is the top and the bottom of your concerns. It should be thought of more in a kind of a circular fashion where the customer is central to everything that you do. So before we get into it, I just have to make a disclaimer that I believe the plan is only as good as the time that you and thought and all of the energy that you put into it. So while creating a format is easy, the investment of the time in several aspects of the actual plan development is where you need to spend your time. And as a business owner, it's incumbent on you to invest that time, for richer outcomes on all of your efforts. So you're not spinning your wheels and not seeing, a return on all of your investments. And of course, better results across the board, because the more information you have, the more data you have, the smarter your marketing is going to be across the board. So now, before you sigh and sign off for the webinar, because yes, this is work, I have created a template to share with you that helps with the process and the organization of the information. So ta-da, it's a single page marketing plan. We'll walk through this format, and I have a template available for you in the chat. Please feel free to download that. It's a Dropbox link. And of course, I'll send it to you after the fact too. But if you want to use it as we are working together today, feel free, print it out, take a pencil, a highlighter, and we'll get to work. But again, if you want to do it after the webinar, we'll certainly, take the time and get that planning process underway. I do recommend, again, kind of a disclaimer, that we're going to be taking this in short bursts. We're not going to be looking at 1 year, 3 year, 5 year marketing plans, because as you know, what's happened with COVID has really just heightened our awareness that everything shifts so fast and so quickly nowadays, especially with new technologies happening, especially with the globalization and the impacts of all of that and COVID. So we're really looking at no more than 90 days or a calendar quarter for a plan of this magnitude. For small businesses, this is still a very good amount of time and effort that you put in, but it's also a very good time and outcomes that you can get out of a 90-day look. Some of us, are working with clients that are looking at 30-day, maybe even 60-day plans now, because of everything that's going on with the pandemic and all of the unknowns. So the template is easy to print. Feel free to make notes on it, what works for you, what doesn't, and treat it kind of as a living thing, because that's really what it should be. So we're all in business to do something great, right? And how do we do that? We all have a passion or a purpose for what we are doing as a business, or we wouldn't be in business. There has to be some kind of personal connection. You saw a need, you saw somebody struggling with something, you thought, I have the skills, the tools, the talents in order to help them. So that's really where we want to start. We want to kind of step back and get back to that core of why you started your business. And these are going to, the mission and vision aspects of the plan are going to be adjusting as you go, but they're going to stay pretty tight to who you are as an organization. So the first parts we want to talk about today are going to be the vision and the mission. And as you can see, they're small boxes, so there's not a ton right, because we want to look at making a really nice, concise, tight statement for both of these. So a vision statement is really just a definition of what qualitative or quantitative outcomes you're striving for. And obviously, as it's supposed to be focused on your customer, what do you want to give them, provide to them, help them achieve? So a vision defines a company's quantitative, like I said, so we have some metrics in there, and qualitative. So it's more about what you do, how you make people feel, what their experience is like working with you or your products. And then quantitative obviously has to do with metrics and numbers and how many you're going to impact. Its vision statements are internally facing for the most part, but it should be simple, straightforward statements to always remember why you do what you do. They're really super valuable when developing your marketing message, because it speaks to the core of who you are and the why of your organization. So here are a couple statements that I thought we'd go through today that are mostly qualitative. There's some quantities in here, like every, but they really define what that company's looking to achieve. So a computer on every desk in every home. That's Microsoft. It's still their vision statement since the day they started. The second one is LinkedIn, creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. The next one is JetBlue. It's to inspire humanity, both in the air and on the ground. And the last one you probably will be able to figure out, as the world's premier entertainment company, and that's Disney. So again, they can be short like Microsoft's, they can be a little bit longer like Disney's, but they really should encompass who you are and what do you want to see your organization do and affect. Along with your vision statements are your mission statements. They kind of go hand in hand. Missions are more outwardly facing, and they really define the purpose that you have to your audience. So how do you serve your audience? What is your why? How do people connect with you? How do they care about what you do? How does it affect them? And why should they purchase or engage with you? So there's a few examples here of some mission statements of some popular brands. The first one is for Honest Tea. It's to create and promote great tasting, healthy, organic beverages. Patagonia's is second, to build the best product, cause no unnecessary harm, use business to inspire and implement solutions to the environmental crisis. And they live their mission. I mean, anyone who follows Patagonia and what they do, not only through their brand, but also through their community involvement and all, is really, this is who they are and this is how they operate. Next one is Warby Parker, offering designer eyewear at a revolutionary price, leading the way for socially conscious business. And the last one is a smaller company that you may not have heard of called From Cradles to Crayons. And it's to provide children from birth through age 12 living in homeless or low-income situations with the essential items they need to thrive, whether at home, at school, and at play. So it really sums up what they do. So from what you read here, you know what these companies do, even if you hadn't heard of them before. So take some time, develop that mission and vision statements, really refine them so that they're very clear. Don't use big language, use very common language to your audiences. Make sure they're representative of who you are as a business and who your business serves. And as your company grows, it's going to, and as you start reaching your objectives and your goals, you'll probably adjust your mission and vision statements because you will have achieved things. And so therefore, they really should be revised as needed to reflect your business's culture and, once your previous goals are met. So like I said, all of this marketing plan, your marketing strategy, and all of the components of them should be and are able to be revised. So the next step is the SWOT analysis. So really thinking about your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And they accompany a box up in here. And so just take, some time, give it a good investment to think about a couple of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for your business. They can be internal, external. Jot them down, up to 3 or, around 3. More than that, you want to start grouping them. But, so often marketers and businesses have kind of skipped this part of the process. And I think that's somewhat of a shame because they really can help develop your marketing message, your goals, and of course your customer personas, which are so important. And so this doesn't need to be an exhaustive exercise, but like I said, develop a couple, a couple of them per, a couple strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as you go. And of course, innovative companies and companies that are constantly looking to grow will create a SWOT analysis looking outside just their internal staff and resources. So they'll get input from their customers to make sure that they're getting another voice into the mix of the information. If you are running a business or just starting up a business on your own, think about doing a SWOT analysis. Recruit people from your friend groups, from people in your peer groups, you know, your accountant, your vendor, your suppliers. You really have some different views on that, because we all have, you know, kind of tunnel vision when it comes to what we know. And what we don't know is what we don't know, and we don't know until we ask. So having this information really helps us take on the next step of developing what we call our unique selling proposition, or our differentiator. And it really gives you a foundation for knowing what the ecosystem is that you're working in. Just going to check to see if there are any questions at this point. Let's see. No questions yet, so that's good. So the next step is to really define your unique selling proposition. You know, so unless that you're really fortunate to be the only player in your industry, you know, so let's say you're the only dedicated supplier of lion taming equipment in North America, you'll probably need to differentiate yourself from your competition through a unique selling I can never say it, proposition, or USP. So a USP is a strong, recognizable statement or position or feeling that people get, that can make or break your business and how you operate in a competitive market. It's what makes your business different from everyone else in your market. We'll put it here underneath your SWOT analysis on this page, just a short little paragraph about what makes you unique. Use descriptive words. But it's really about differentiating yourselves from everyone else in your market. You know, and before you really start thinking about how your qualities set you apart from other companies or organizations in your niche, you need to really think about, what does that mean to your perfect customer, you know, your perfect client. So you want to make sure that you include how you, as an organization, address the specific needs experienced by your ideal customers. So, you know, if you don't identify how you solve a problem or create relief or anything else, you're going to be just like everybody else, and then you're going to be compared on features, and you're going to become a widget, and everyone's going to be comparing you against everyone else. If you really set and define how you address your clients and prospects' problems, they'll start thinking about you, and you won't need to do as much work down the road. It really does help people solidify and figure out the qualities that separate you from another business or another resource to provide them with their need, or their solution to their need. So again, consumers and businesses don't want to buy products. They're not out to go, okay, today I'm going to go buy this because I should have it, or you know, I'm going to get the newest stapler even though I have 5 staplers that work. They will buy, and they're pushed to buy a problem that they're experiencing, whether it's that stapler is broken, or you know, and they need a new stapler, or that stapler, you know, they don't make the staples for that stapler anymore. So they need to understand how you solve the problem that they currently have. And so, you know, the USP and the development of your customer avatars are really interconnected. And sometimes we will create customer avatars before we do the unique selling proposition. Other times we do it in this order. It really depends on the industry that the company is in, how new you are to that industry, what kind of information you currently have, other information that you have to get from external sources. But when we get into things such as the customer persona, I'm not controlling this slide deck very well, and I apologize. You'll see at the bottom of the marketing plan, you have a box for up to 3 different personas. These are ways to really flesh out and identify the, you know, up to 3 of representatives of your target market. So when we talk about customer personas, we really want to take the time, gather the information, and make it as personal and as personalized as possible. So, you know, putting a face to it, finding clip art or photos to attach a picture to the persona that you have is so important, because everything that you do from this stage forward, all of your marketing messages, all of the marketing strategies that you undertake and all, really should be connected and have you speaking to that representative of your target market. It's much easier to write copy and to send an email to somebody that you can picture as you're writing it than it is to think about this ginormous group of people or a faceless mass of people. So, put together a persona, put a picture to it. So, personas are, there's lots of information that can go into persona. Obviously, you want to get demographic information. How old are they? What do they do for a living? Where do they live? What's their background like in terms of education or experience? What's their financial situation? So when you're thinking about developing products and marketing messages for the ideal customer, really understand, are they able to afford it? Is this something that their demographic is in need of? But then get deeper, talk a little bit about their qualitative information. They're a mother or a father, like for instance, here's Michelle. She's 45 years old. She has a bachelor's in business, master's in economics. She's an executive vice president at an economic development agency. She's financially stable. She is married and a mother to 2 teenagers. She lives in a middle-class suburb of that has a university and high retail information. So understanding her surroundings is important and what her influencers are in terms of culture. She has an active, healthy lifestyle, but she's busy and she is juggling work and an active family. Obviously, with 2 teenagers, she's probably, pretty active with sports and activities that they're involved in too. She always feels tired, no matter how much sleep or exercise she gets. Her diet is grab as you go because she's busy. And so she's struggling with no time to plan or cook. She spends too much time on takeout. And she needs resources to improve meal planning and preparation. She struggles with this. And if you are in a online, like a SaaS, a software as a service, or if you are in, a meal planning opportunity, or a nutritionist or a dietitian or wellness coach, or any other aspect of the business of supporting people's healthy lifestyles, doctors, physicians, having this type of information is important, because then you can speak to her pain points. She is struggling to make time to plan or cook. She has no, spending too much money and time on takeout. She needs resources to improve her meal planning and preparation. She's on social media. How does she use social media? Is it for buying? Is it for making decisions for her business or her personal purchases? Here we say that her social activity is for friends, families, and kids. And she uses mobile for calls and texts, but not is always connected. So, depending on, obviously, the usability of mobile, would SMS text be appropriate to reach them? Would she see something that you might put in a social media ad, things like that. So really think about, when you're putting together a persona, think 360 degrees. What are their influences? What are their lifestyle that affects their decision-making skills? What are their needs? Where could you either address a need or create a product that would create a need for them, similar to what the iPhone did for us. The next one is James. James is 28 years old. He has a bachelor's. He's working on a certificate in UX design. But the biggest problem that James has right now is he has $80,000 in student debt, and he's struggling because he's at the age where he's starting to think about, marriage and children, and maybe home buying, but he's got this debt looming over him. He also knows he needs to start planning for retirement. And so, some of his needs are in this struggle. So is there an app that can be developed, or is a financial planner for somebody who is, who services this lower age group, the lower millennials? How do they use their cell phone? It says here that James is tethered to his mobile phone through digital, through his digital use. And he uses social media, obviously, but he uses it to showcase his work, to gain followers, and then, of course, to connect with potential future employers. So where do you see James? If James is part of your target market, where do you see ways to connect with James? How do you see ways to speak to James and to provide a service or a solution to him? So, and these are going to morph and evolve as you go, because the more information you gather on your customers and potential customers, why people work with you, why they don't, who uses your product, who doesn't, the more information you have, is really important to keep your profiles up to date. And again, that's why we include them on these, even for the short-term marketing, plans, is because they could change in 90 days. I mean, James, at the time that, pre-COVID, James was really worrying about student debt and saving for a house. Well, he may now, because, maybe he got laid off or furloughed or something from his project manager position. So right now he's going to be reactive to what he needs to do versus proactive. So how do you adjust that? Think about what trends your target markets are being affected by. And so, it's a big conversation about personas. And the biggest thing is, again, to be customer centric and to really understand what those customers are struggling with. So, the next thing we're going to get into is strategies. And what we say is strategies, whatever it takes, right, to get the business to grow. And we have space here for a short-term strategy and space here for a longer-term strategy. And for a short approach marketing plan such as this one, we're going to really focus on one short-term strategy and one longer-term strategy, maybe two longer-term strategies, but that's stretching it, because you have, as a business owner or the head of an organization, you have a lot of other things to manage, on top of the marketing. So you want to make sure that if you put these strategies in place and you plan for the activities to happen, that you have the time and resources to get them accomplished. So when you're doing the short-term strategy, think 90 days max, 60 days, depending on how long your date range is here. But your short-term strategy should really be for short temporary boosts in your business or your traffic to your website. And short-term is helpful because it's not overwhelming. And it's a necessary part of being able to then plan for longer term and impact your longer term growth. If you don't have short-term growth, you won't be able to get to long-term growth because you won't be in business. So when you're creating these strategies, and when I think of strategies, I think more of like, what am I going to do within this short term, these 90 days, 60 to 90 days, to really make an impact on my business? What can I do? What kind of resources do I have for it? Both, from internal in terms of time and energy, but also for your, if you wanted to bring in somebody to help you with it, or, if there is a paid component to it, make sure that you take that all into consideration when you're budgeting for that. To accomplish these short-term things, you could offer discounts, coupons, contests, or giveaways in order to generate interest and activity around your business. You can do pay-per-click advertising, social media advertising campaigns for short bursts. Do webinars or a series of webinars, where you're offering short and good information, helping to educate and inform your prospects and clients. Video promotion, things like that. So very short term with big impact. Then you want to look at some, a longer term strategy or two. Because again, you need to start planning and you need to work toward those. So while you're working on your short term, you should be having some activity around your long term. Your longer term strategies can establish brand awareness. They can help you build your reputation and your relationships with your clients and customers. They have long-term returns. We're talking, a year, 15, 18, 24 months. They will have milestones attached in them too. So you want to think about that when you're creating what are some key performance indicators as those milestones go that will help you determine whether you're on the right path with these. And it can, consider the resources that you're going to need for these too. Usually longer term takes more time, more energy, a lot more input, and a considerable amount more budget than a short-term one. some examples are, search engine optimization, adjusting your website to make sure that you're getting the right traffic, your bounce rates are lower, people are understanding what you do, they're staying on your site, they're going through the whole thing. Your social media, brand awareness, putting out good, helpful information for clients and prospects to be able to evaluate you. Email, having a good, solid email campaign over a long time period helps to really keep those relationships going, drive traffic to your website, social media, all that. And of course, public relations is also a great a great long-term strategy, because the better relationship you have with the media in your area, the more apt they'll write about you and help support your activities longer term. The last part is really to understand the goals that you're going to be, the activities that are going to take you to the goals that you're going to be doing. So, look at what are some, 2 approaches you can take to hit that short-term strategy. So, is it a content marketing campaign? Is it an email campaign? Is it a social media campaign? What do you need to do? What are the components of that? Second one is maybe following that up. If you get people to sign up for your website, create a short-term, maybe 5 to 7 piece email welcome series to help get them to know you, start trusting you, understanding your product or service, and then help them transition into a long-term email campaign for newsletters or whatever you're sending, and it helps to keep them engaged. And then one longer-term approach. So what can you get done in 60 to 90 days to help get back to that strategy and that longer term strategy and move that forward and accomplish that. And then of course we have the goals that come after that. So approaches for the long term strategy. How are you going to approach that? How are you going to work toward longer term strategies? They think about some activities that you can do to move those forward. Like I said, set up an email capture form, run a social media ad campaign to promote to a lookalike audience, drive traffic to your website, conduct keyword research for better search engine results, conduct past and current customer surveys, have conversations with clients to better understand the needs, so that you can adjust your product and service if needed, but also so that you can speak intelligently to them and clone them, obviously, as an audience that you want to go after. So goals, right? So we're going to get to goals now. This is actually the last bit, but it's really important to really write down 1 to 2 goals that you want to get out of the short-term approaches and out of that long-term approach, because you have to know you're working towards something in order to say, A, is it working? And B, is it moving us forward? If it's not working, then we can adjust it or abandon it and try another approach. If it is working, how do we multiply that so that it automatically gets us to where we need to be? So, obviously, we probably all heard of SMART goals. I don't really like that acronym, but, I like the realistic aspect of the goal and the time bound, because we're working against a deadline here. Realistic in the fact that you don't want to say, hey, I'm going to do something and I'm going to get a 50% increase in my conversion rate. Well, we all know that that's pretty difficult unless you put every waking hour and a good amount of resources into it. So maybe you say a 10% increase, reducing my bounce rate by 7% on my website will help me gain more people, to read through and to continue engaging with my my website. Increasing my event attendance 20% time over time through an active public relations campaign to help people to get to know you and enjoy whether it's an online or someday in-person event. So think about how realistic you can be and how time-bound you can be with these. And of course, review and adjust accordingly. So, once you're finished with this 90 days, you say, okay, well, we had a goal of 30%. We made it to 26%. We were very, very close. What can we do this next quarter or this next period of time in order to get us to that next level? Obviously, the information you're getting back from all of the activities will help you be smarter down the road and help you develop things a little bit better for next time. So, this the overall marketing plan, and I know I've gone through this very quickly, but it's really meant to be dynamic, to be agile, allow you to be responsive, but also proactive. And so thinking ahead, but then also saying, oh, we didn't anticipate, in month 3 to have, to have something happen. There was a new social platform that we could try. So let's add that into the strategy for next time to see if that's a platform that we want to play with. It does require feeding and caring for. Investment of time and energy and is the most important part. But you're going to need to allocate that time at the beginning when you're developing it. So the first set, but then the ongoing. So I recommend every week, every day, if you have like 15 to 20 minutes, just check in, see where you are, what you can do to work toward that goal, and to invest in that marketing that you've been wanting to do. Every month, sit back and look at some of the metrics, and we'll go into metrics in a further webinar, but really understand, is this working for my time and my money investment? Am I getting what I want out of it? Is it a KPI that I want to replicate? Making those adjustments as needed. Some channels allow you quick response, like this is resonating, this isn't resonating, this is driving activity to me, this is not. Make those adjustments as you go. Really treat this as a living, breathing little thing. And then, of course, what activities are getting you the outcomes that you want? What feels natural to you? If you tried TikTok and it ain't your thing, don't do it again. If it's not comfortable for you to participate in, what happens is you start it, you'll stop it, and or you'll just come to a standstill, and then it won't become part of who you are and people and how people connect with you. And then, you'll. It's always better to start small, build on that instead of going kind of crazy going forward. And then, of course, I always like to do these in pencil. Pencil and a highlighter is my thing. I print them out. I print them large because I write large, but you can print it on a letter size, or you can print it on tabloid size paper, and keep it front and center. Pin it to your board at, now that you're working from home for the most part, pin it to the board at home, bring it to the office with you and pin it right in front so you see it every day and it reminds you of where you're trying to go, because it really needs to be something that drives all your behaviors. I know, again, this is a lot of information in a very short period of time, and I apologize for that. We can only handle so much in an hour, and I want to give plenty of time to raising, questions. But I did just want to say, if you feel you want to reach out after the webinar, feel free to reach out to the Muse or to me and have a conversation about any of this. It's a big topic, and in the future webinars we'll kind of be breaking it down in terms of how to develop your messaging, how to develop an emails that get not only delivered but get acted upon. And then, of course, down the road we're going to be talking about measurement and how to really understand what's happening with all the input that you're putting in and the effort that you're putting in. So please feel free to sign up for any of the future ones for topics that you feel you need assistance with, or want to run an idea by us. We feel free to reach out and do that. So again, it's just about 20 of it, and I wanted to keep everything to about 40 minutes of presentation so that we could allow time for questions and answers. But I would like to, again, thank the Chamber and the Muse for hosting this today. And I do hope that you got a good amount of information out of it. Feel free to pass along that template to whomever could benefit. I do see I have somebody raising their hand, so let me, I'll open it up so that so that she can ask her question. Lynn?
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask you, I'm not familiar with the acronym that you use, the KPI, and maybe everyone knows that, but
sure.
I do.
So KPI, it stands for Key Performance Indicator, and it's a real corporate term, but basically it's metrics that you look at that help you know that you're getting to the goals that you want to put out there. So KPIs in email marketing can be open rates, click-through rates, you know, unsubscribe rates, any of the data that comes along with, you know, email marketing, because those can then say, okay, well, if they're clicking through and they're going to our website, and then they're either purchasing, which is our end goal, or they're not purchasing, where is that disconnect happening? But it can tell you, okay, out of 1,000 people that we've sent an email to, 700 opened it, and of those 700, only 100 people click through. So, you know, is that a decent rate for us? Is that what we were hoping for? You know, is that indicative of our industry benchmarks? Things like that. You know, in terms of web performance, you know, bounce rates are KPIs, are a big indicator of how successful your website is at capturing your audience. So if you have a bounce rate over 50%, it's a concern, because that means out of every 100, over 50 people are leaving as soon as they arrive. So they're not going any deeper into your website. So that's definitely an indicator that something needs adjustment. But they're really just data that you collect, and we'll get deeper into KPIs in our measurement webinar, but it's data that you collect that helps you understand if you're on the right track or not.
Okay, and then I just had one other question.
Sure.
I didn't see where to access the template for the
Okay, it should be in the chat function, but I will send it out to you after too. Let me just open the chat again. At the very beginning of the chat, it's not opening for me. That's odd. Oh, there we go. The very beginning of the chat, I have a Dropbox link, and I can drop it in again for you.
if you would. I think I got on a little bit later.
Oh, sure.
The beginning, so that might be why I missed it.
There you go. It's just it's a Dropbox link. You can download the template.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I appreciate your webinar.
Oh, good.
Really.
Thanks. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and all. Are there any other questions? Again, I know this is a lot of information. I did use a little bit more marketing speak than I would have liked to. But if there's any questions about the template, how to use it, any of the ideas we spoke about, feel free. You can email me. My email is here. It's r@inkcreative.com. Feel free to reach out. I don't see any additional questions today. So either I've totally overwhelmed you with all this information, or I've done what I wanted to do and provided you with a good overview of marketing planning. And then hopefully we'll see you next week, same time, same channel, for our next one, which is going to be about messaging. So how to take the information in your marketing plan to really develop that full marketing message, figure out the right channels in which to talk to people. So we'll talk about the different demographics that are being that are using each one of the different platforms. We'll talk a little bit about email marketing and how that all plays into communicating with clients and prospects.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think with that, I will end the webinar, but again, feel free to reach out, and I look forward to hearing from you and hopefully seeing you next week.
Okay.
Take good care.